So, as pharmaceutical companies continue to announce the results of clinical vaccine trials, we've talked rather a lot about these immunizations and how they will be distributed. Pfizer says this morning that it has finished trials of its COVID-19 vaccine and that the candidate is 95% effective. Even though most of the products haven't been approved, some countries already, including the U.S., have purchased millions of vaccine doses to ensure the safety of their own citizens. But activists are warning that their inflated stocks could leave lower-income countries at a disadvantage. COVAX is an effort launched in part by the World Health Organization to help provide equal access to vaccines worldwide. More than 180 countries and economies are involved, but not the U.S. In the meantime, some pharmaceutical companies are also making promises to help distribute vaccines in developing nations. So, Joanna Slater has been following this for the Washington Post. She's the paper's India bureau chief and joining us now. Thank you so much for joining us, Joanna. I remember very early on in the pandemic when the discussion of a vaccine started, there were concerns that there would be something called, I think they called it vaccine nationalism, where, countries, wealthy countries that were able to invest in the development of vaccines would feel that they should have first dibs on the doses, and that would put poorer countries at a disadvantage. So what are things looking like now? What are the numbers? Who's buying these vaccine doses?
Well, as you suggested, this is a situation where every country is rushing to try to secure doses for their citizens. And right now, wealthy countries like the United States have a distinct advantage. They've secured already enough potential doses to vaccinate their entire populations. So the United States has done this, Japan has done this, the United Kingdom has done this, and Canada has also done this. So now, obviously, not all of those vaccines may work out, but the point is they have agreements for that supply. And poorer countries have a little bit more of a difficult road ahead of them. They either have to reach their own deals with pharmaceutical companies, hoping that these companies are willing to sell at a price they can afford, or they have to rely on the initiative you were mentioning just now, COVAX, which is a pooled global initiative that's going to pool money and vaccines and then distribute them equitably across the world.
So we talked earlier about the Pfizer vaccine, and yesterday we talked about the challenges associated with it, that it needs to be refrigerated and not just regular refrigeration, like a deep freeze refrigeration, which is going to be challenging to do here in the U.S. But I can't imagine the challenges that a country like, say, India would be facing with a vaccine of that kind. What are some of the challenges when it comes to distributing vaccines in lower income countries?
Absolutely. So many developing nations are going to face infrastructure challenges when it comes to distributing vaccines, whether it's transportation or whether it's what you were mentioning, cold storage. Some of these refrigeration chains are not great, and that's regular refrigeration, not ultra cold storage, as some of these vaccines require. And then it's also just a question of scale. Remember, most countries have the ability to vaccinate children every year, but not every single adult. So it's just going to be a big challenge for any country, but particularly for developing nations. The head of one of India's biggest vaccine maker thinks that any vaccine that requires ultra cold storage is basically a non-starter in most of the developing world.
Joanna Slater, thank you.